Ahoy there. This video is intended to inform people that want to know how to set up their own music studio and need to know a thing or two about equipment. First thing I'll talk to you about is cables. Most common cable used is this instrument cable. Probably familiar with it if you play guitar or use something that uses amplifiers because it plugs right in there. Another common cable, if you're using microphones to record, you'd use this microphone cable. And then what you plug those into is usually a mixer or an interface. We'll talk about interface later. But a mixer, over here on this camera, I'll show you here. This is my little mixer. Cute, isn't it? It's a Xenix 802 made by Behringer. And what these things do is allow you to plug everything you need there. They also do effects loops, which I'll explain as well. So let's say I have a guitar, so I could plug that guitar right into this channel here. And then as you can see, I have a mic cable plugged into that channel. So I got two channels right there. So now we've already plugged in our instruments or a microphone, whatever we want to record with. Now I'm going to talk about the effects loop going through a mixer and what that's all about. So this right here is an effects box meant for a guitar, but I use it as just an effects to go through my mixer here. So to give you an example, I'll go ahead and unplug this from here. So on the mixer, I don't know if you can see it, but that says effects send. So you plug this in there and then plug it onto your input of whatever type of effects thing you're using. Then on the output, which on mine it says line/headphones, that is the output. So on this output I'm going to use a special type of cable, which as you can see, this one's a little different from this one. This one's a normal one. I don't know, can you tell the difference? As you can see, the one where my thumb is at has two black bands. That means this does stereo, as where this one only does mono. So the input in here is mono. Then on the output of the stereo one, on the other end of the cable, as you can see, it splits into two monos. And those go into the stereo auxiliary return of your mixer. Pretty much all mixers are set up like this, and it's important because there is a difference between which one goes where. The one that says ring, I have it marked as mono or left. So that will go in left, and the other one goes in the right side. So now you have an effects loop going in through your mixer, which can be applied using these red ones here to, say, a microphone. So you can apply it to an acoustic guitar. You can apply effects to your own voice, or do it to your guitar like you normally would, just going through a mixer instead of directly inputting. Well, that is something you can do. You can just plug your guitar right into here and then have this coming out. Instead of going through the effects send, you just plug it into one of the channels and use both of the plugins like that. And now it's just a guitar going straight into one of the channels on your mixer. Either way works. Another side note I want to mention is, this is something I discovered myself because I wanted to record audio that was coming through my computer. So I have this cable. This is called a mini jack, pretty familiar with it. Most headphones use a mini jack. It's the most basic audio type of input. The other side, I plug it into here, and this little adapter thing splits into two of these, which are called, what do they call it? I forgot. RCA. I'm an idiot. Can't believe I forgot that. RCA cables, which allows me to plug it into my mixer. So I'll show you over here what I'm talking about. So on the front of your computer, where it says headphones, you just plug that side in there, and then the other side, which is now RCA, stereo input, you plug into the input of your mixer. Most mixers would have this feature, so now anything that would normally come through your computer speakers is now going right into your mixer and can be recorded just like a normal instrument or your voice. And with the mixer and effects box and instruments and all that, you can plug shit in left and right and just mess with stuff to really see what it'll do if you try different variations and methods of hooking all your stuff up together. Now that it's all in the mixer, now what are you supposed to do? How are you going to get that audio into that computer to record it. Well, that's what an interface is for, and I'll go ahead and show you what that's all about. So on our mixer, on the main outputs, which are left and right here, I have them going into this, which is the interface that I use. And interfaces is what connects it to the computer. So this is outputs, inputs. So the mixer is going in right here. And then on the back of this is a big thick cable, which is plugging in right here into the back of my computer, which has an internal sound card, and that is an interface. Now there are a lot of different type of interfaces. Mine I have in this example is pretty basic. It has 4 mic instrument inputs and 4 outputs. So usually they have, you know, mic inputs. Mine doesn't, so I have to use a mixer instead. If you have a really advanced interface, you probably don't even need the mixer elements, but in my case I do. And also mine does not do MIDI, and I'll explain what MIDI is in a bit. Certain interfaces work with certain types of digital audio recording software, and the one I'm using is the probably most used recording software, which is Pro Tools. Other popular ones are Cakewalk, Sonar, and I forget what the Sony one was. I'm not a big fan of Sony software, so I've never tried that one. So in this example, I'll just be showing you Pro Tools, not the other types of software that can be used to record audio. Here's my computer screen, and here's another one. This is kind of what Pro Tools looks like. As you can see right there, there's audio waveforms I've recorded. And these things right here are instrument plugins, which, let me turn on my sound. So if I click on one, something to note about Pro Tools is you need to do your research on which versions work with which type of interfaces. Like my version of Pro Tools is M-Audio, which means it works with my M-Audio made interface. Some interfaces actually come bundled with Pro Tools, so you buy them together. You buy the interface with the actual program together. I'm not going to really explain how to use Pro Tools. That's not part of this. I'm just explaining what type of equipment you need. But I will talk about my computer I'm using here. So here's my old computer, which does the job. If you're ever wondering, can my computer have enough power to record audio? It probably can. Audio does not take as much as video production. I'm going to show you the stats of this computer. So I'm working with a 2.2 gigahertz. That's a single core, not even dual core. 1.4 gigabytes of RAM. I think 1 gig is the minimum. It won't let you install or run it if you have less than 1 gig. On today's standards, which I'm making this very beginning of 2012, oh, it's the end of the world. This computer is definitely a hunk of junk on today's standards, but it still does what I need it to do. There are times where it tells me I'm out of CPU power and it stalls up, which does irritate me, and there's some times where I just want to go outside and start shooting people, but you can do it without a really high-end computer. And by do it, I mean recording audio. Just going to clarify. Now I'm going to explain what MIDI is. I myself don't use it because my simple interface has no MIDI connection, but what MIDI is you can use a keyboard or a controller to control synthesizers that are inside of your software. A lot of bands use this, like Linkin Park does use it. You know, they have those pad things where they're touching down to play like a piano or something. That's a controller, which is controlling software in a computer. Some bands depend entirely on it, like the Glitch Mob, if you're familiar with them. So that's an instrument track, and that's a synthesizer, hopefully you heard that, within the software. So you can control it like this piano I have in front of me. It can do MIDI, so I'd plug that. There's a connection for MIDI. It's in the back of this piano. You plug that into your interface if your interface supports it. Again, mine does not, because all it has is instrument cables, so I can't do MIDI interface type stuff. And that would every time you'd hit a key on your keyboard, it'd play one of these notes within your computer instead of having to program it like I do with my mouse. The last thing I want to talk about is the output, the monitors. How do you hear the sound? How does it play back? You can't use, well, you can use computer speakers. There's always a way somehow with some sort of connection adapter, but you don't want to use computer speakers. You want to use studio monitors, which I have behind me here. You can see one right there, the blue light thingy. The interface, there's always an output, which is right here, and left and right channels, and these left and right speakers, which play back the audio so you know what it sounds like. Now if you're recording with a microphone, you can't have sound coming through, because then the sound become an infinite loop because it's coming out of these speakers into your microphone, so you need to use headphones, and now I'll show you how I do that. So I've got these headphones here, and on the back end is instrument type plug-in. It also has an adapter on there, normal mini jack to instrument cable. And with my interface, it doesn't have stereo output, so I have to use this adapter, which plugs into here. And now it's two mono outputs which go into my interface instead of using the monitors behind me. I think that's basically it. Oh, in case you're wondering what this song I have here sounds like, I'll go ahead and play it for you. Yes! Can you guess that song?